Brexit. Or should I say, no Brexit. The whole thing is bizarre. It doesn't matter which way you voted at the moment, to me. I'm looking at what Parliament's doing. And what they're doing is they're overturning a vote before it's been enacted. Now that is a slippery slope to a dictatorship. And anyone who thinks any otherwise, saying, "Oh, I don't care because we're going to remain in the EU," whoopee, whoopee, you're an idiot. Watch what's going on, absorb it, and then have a proper think about it. Because if they do that on Brexit, they can do that on everything. So now we're going to go back a little bit to try and explain where I'm coming from with this. 3 years ago, we had the referendum, or near enough 3 years ago. Now what we've got to understand is why we had that referendum. It was partly because UKIP were getting a lot of votes, and there was some turbulence in the Tory party between Eurosceptics and Europhiles, and David Cameron decided, right, we've got to do something about this. He'll try and get a deal with the EU that will pacify everyone. So he went there to try and get rules changed on immigration and a few other bits and bobs. But basically, it doesn't matter what he was going there. He tried to get a different deal, and the EU said, "Ba-ba! No, nothing." That's why we had a referendum, because the EU were not going to play ball. Can everyone please just remember that fact? That is so important to me, is that they said no deal right from the beginning. Okay, so time trundled on a bit. We had the Leave campaign, we had the Remain campaign. There was lots of bullshit said on both sides. I do laugh at everyone going on about the bus, all the butt-hurt Remainers going, "Oh, but the bus, the bus, the bus." Grow up. For Christ's sake, read it properly. Do you not understand English? We know it was a little bit of a leading question, but, you know, let me just tell you something about the bus. It said 350 odd million, didn't it, that we put in, that we could. It said, let's fund the NHS instead. It doesn't say, we will fund. How could they? They're not a political party. They were a campaign group. So if you don't understand that, well, I don't know what to say, really. But it's actually over 360 million now. And also, don't think for one moment that I am in any way praising the Tory party, because I think it's an omnishambles. But they've actually already promised that amount into the NHS anyway. I think they're actually already doing it, or it's coming in the next budget. So regardless of Brexit. So, boom. It's actually going to happen, or it seems that way. But then might not, because we don't know whether to trust any bloody politician anymore. Anyway, so we got to that. We got both campaign parties talking nonsense, and then the vote came, and Leave won. Okay, I personally think that they still tried to make Remain win. I still think there's a bit of skullduggery going on there, and it just shocked everyone. Remain lost. So then the next thing we were supposed to do, which Cameron had said previously, was we would invoke Article 50 the day after. And so did a few other people. And you can go and look that up on YouTube and etc. wherever you like to get your news from. But of course that never happened. Cameron resigned. And then we had to have a leadership battle. And we got Theresa May. I mean, seriously, who in their right mind would put Theresa May in there? She was the most horrific Home Secretary. She's an absolute, utter waste of time. And she's a Remainer, obviously, which is a silly thing to do, surely. Surely everyone can see that when we're supposed to enact the result of a referendum, you would put someone in power that actually is willing to actually invoke it, you know, basically a Brexiteer. And again, it doesn't really matter which side of the argument you're on. You've just got to think about this sensibly. Okay, so they put Theresa May in. Then the silly cow had called another general election. The most stupid thing to do. And she lost a majority, which is just mad. And we had all the Gina Miller nonsense, which, funnily enough, has backfired on the Remainers, because what she actually did was put the whole thing into law. Because people said, "Oh, this was a advisory referendum." No, not after Gina Miller interfered with it. I'm afraid she put it into law. We invoked Article 50. I believe it was around 90% of our politicians voted to invoke Article 50. Okay. Now also, what you've got to remember is that 91% of MPs, after this election that we just had, were voted in on two-party manifestos, because it's only really worth talking about Labour and Conservatives. Both manifestos, both party manifestos, which you can still go onto the web and download, both stated in black and white that they would obviously do what the referendum told them to do. So that means we would leave the EU. They both stated we'd leave the single market, and they both stated that we'd leave the customs union, and we wouldn't be under the rule of the European Court of Justice. Boom. That's how this Parliament was formed, all standing on that manifesto. Well, I think it was, again, 90% of MPs were voted in on that manifesto. Now we have them turning it round. You think, what? We voted you in on that, and now you're saying no. We want to remain. Because that's basically what they're saying. They won't say it. I mean, fair play to the Liberals. At least they come out and say it. But the Tories and the Labour are so shady and nasty, if you ask me. That's what we've come to. So, okay, Article 50 was invoked, blah, 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 blah. And then we had this meaningful vote nonsense, which also set in stone a date to leave. Now, that was actually ratified and put into law, which said that we left on the 29th of March 2019 at 11 p.m, deal or no deal. That's the law. That's what they all voted for. I think it's 495 MPs voted for that. And here we are now. Seriously, here we are now with a potential delay to Brexit. I believe that Theresa May said it around 100 times. We will be leaving on the 29th. She also said no deal is better than a bad deal. And we've got this clusterfuck. We've got the Northern Ireland border being used as an absolute pawn. And it's just utter, who's going to build it? Who's going to build it? If there's no deal, right, and we leave, who's building this border infrastructure? Well, we're not going to, are we? The Irish don't want and the EU won't. Well, I'll tell you what, the EU will have to foot the bill, or that idiot Varadkar will have to foot the bill. Simple as that. You know, the UK do not want a wall or any nonsense, don't want borders, and it can all be done electronically, I believe. I mean, a lot of stuff. I actually was an importer for Sherco motorcycles, which is a Spanish-French company. So I have had dealings with the EU. I've also worked for Texas Instruments in Freising, so I have had dealings with the EU. So I do kind of understand a lot of what's going on. Also, I'd just like to say at this point, everyone's talking about the economy. I've never heard so much nonsense in all my life. If you believe that, Carney and co and all these experts that have never ever got a forecast correct, even a 6-month forecast, they don't get correct. It's always, and they're going on about some 15 odd years or something. This is what will happen. Give me a break. Carney has even had to come out and say, oh, no deal won't be as bad as I thought it would be. Because all the proof is being, shown that they're talking nonsense, too much scaremongering. So that's where we are on Brexit. We've had this vote to extend Article 50 for 3 months, but that's not going to happen. They will force, I believe, us in to stay in for another 2 or 3 years. That's what will happen. There's no Brexit. There's the government overturning a legitimate vote and going, nah, tough, we're staying. That's a dictatorship. That's what worries me. You should all be worried. Seriously, you should all be worried about what's going on, regardless of how you voted. You should be absolutely angry. I listened to Juncker's. Oh, well, actually, we'll go on to that a little bit, actually. When people say Brexiteers don't know what they voted for, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you exactly what I did when the referendum was called. I went back and I listened to Juncker's State of the Union address, the one previous to the one that was, current to before we voted. Then, since we voted, I've also listened to the next two. Now, I wasn't. Well, I do think we should control immigration. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we should be too hard on it. I think we should be like Australia. I think we should have a point system. I think that's fair, and it'd be fair across the board. So no matter where you come from in the world, if you're going to contribute to this country, brilliant. Come in, so long as our infrastructure can handle it. No problem with immigration. I've just got issues with mass immigration. As I said, that wasn't my main reason for voting in the EU. I'm all about sovereignty, and I am. There's no doubt about it. I'm a patriot. No doubt about it. I love my country. I'm English. Well, I'm actually half Irish as well. So I'm Iro England. whatever. But there you go. The immigration wasn't part of it, sovereignty was, but then I also wanted to see what the EU is turning into. That's what I looked at. And then when you listen to Juncker and what he's won, they have made it clear. They do want a federal superstate. They do want to take sovereignty from the 28 members, or maybe 27 soon. They are making an EU army. If you go onto Veterans for Britain and look at some of their stuff, they've actually got it all written down and everything that we've signed. We've started signing over to form an EU army already. Be under no illusion. And we also, I think it was the Paras, they went to Bosnia under the EU flag to do operations. And if you look at what's going on in France at the moment with the yellow vests, you'll also notice that those armoured vehicles have got EU flags on them. That's not what I didn't want. I don't want any of that. If you want that, fine. You want to be part of a federalist state, you want to be ruled by the Germans, fine. And then also what's been revealed, we've seen the Bruges group leak, which basically said that Angela Merkel and Theresa May are the ones who are actually doing the negotiating. The rest of it's just all pantomime. They had already agreed what was going to happen, and pretty much, again, you can just go and find this yourself on the web. They pretty much agreed that if we do actually leave, then we'll be members again after 2020. I don't even think we'll have left by 2020. So that's where things are going, and that worries me. And that's all I really have to say on the matter, I suppose. That's about it. I know I was a bit garbled and nonsense, but I haven't done one of these for a long time. So let's see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But let me tell you, we're being betrayed, and you Remainers might go woohoo, but you're stupid. Honestly, you're mad, because we're heading into a dictatorship. Au revoir, as the yellow vest would say. Bye.